The obsidian walls of the Ethel Council chamber hummed with barely contained energy, a symphony of barely perceptible vibrations that spoke volumes of the simmering crisis. Above, the crystalline ceiling, a colossal structure carved from the heart of a dying star, pulsed with an anemic light, casting long, skeletal shadows across the gathered dignitaries. Each member of the council, a representative from a myriad of star-spanning civilizations, sat frozen in their designated alcoves, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the chaos that was unfolding in the void beyond the periphery. A low thrum like the death rattle of a cosmic leviathan permeated the chamber, a tangible manifestation of the fear that gripped them all. It was the signal, the arrival. They were here, humanity. The whispers had become screams. The legends, prophecies, and desperate theories of the galactic community had culminated in this one horrifying truth. A truth that sent shivers of cosmic dread down every Ethel, every Xylar, every Krill's spine within the chamber. Grand Arbiter Xylos, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the dim light, finally broke the suffocating silence. His voice, a grating rasp that resonated with the weight of his age and the gravity of the moment, cut through the tension. The preliminary reports are unsettling. He paused, the many eyes within his optical cluster flickering with a frantic energy. Unsettling is an understatement. Across the chamber, a hulking Krill, its gravity-defying form suspended above its alcove, rumbled a guttural response. Its voice echoed through the vast chamber, a sound like tectonic plates grinding against each other. The Orith's analysis has been inconclusive. They move, they accelerate with an impossible grace. Their weapon's signature is absent, or overwhelming. The Krill's tone was laced with a barely concealed terror, a vulnerability that was uncharacteristic for their species. An elegant Ethel, its form shimmering with a rainbow iridescence, glided gracefully into the conversation, her voice a melodious chime that pierced the tension. Perhaps we are misinterpreting the data. Their capabilities might simply exceed our current understanding. A murmur of dissent rippled through the chamber. The lack of a weapon's signature is not a sign of advanced technological prowess. It is the absence of any signature at all. The Orith report a distortion field of some kind of interference that is completely outside any reference we have. No known technology can do that. And Xylar Delegate, a being composed of swirling nebulae contained within a crystalline frame, responded with a complex series of shifting colors and modulated light. It was their way of emphasizing that they weren't sure. What if this was a mistake? Had the prophets of Xylar been correct? If the humans arrived as had been foretold, what now? The crystalline form radiated apprehension. Xylos raised a clawed appendage, instantly quieting the chamber. The data is irrefutable. We know the location from which the signals emanate. We know their trajectory. We know their intent, or at least we think we do. He paused again, his multifaceted eyes swiveling to encompass the entire council. Their vessel's a single one apparently is closing on the periphery gate. It is large, unnaturally so. The reports describe it as a warship, a terrifying word, one that suggests conflict. Another wave of hushed whispers rolled across the chamber. War. The galaxy had known war, but the thought of facing the unknown, of engaging in conflict with a species about which they knew virtually nothing, filled even the most battle-hardened veterans with a sense of utter dread. The tension within the chamber was almost palpable, thick enough to be sliced with a blade. The representatives of 1,000 civilizations, each with their own histories, cultures, and fears, were united by the terrifying specter of the unknown. They had prepared for every conceivable threat, every conceivable foe, but nothing in their extensive archives had prepared them for this. Humanity was a riddle wrapped in an enigma, cloaked in a veil of impenetrable silence. They knew only what they had gathered from intermittent, fragmented transmissions, and these gave rise to far more questions than answers. The human vessels appeared to be self-sustaining, capable of interstellar travel without relying on any known power source. Their internal structures were unknown. Their intentions were utterly opaque, and now they were here. The Xylar Delegate, its crystalline form beginning to swirl with a frenzied light display, spoke again. We must consider all possibilities. Perhaps they seek peace. Perhaps they offer alliance. Perhaps they are simply lost. A ripple of doubt spread through the chamber. Even the most optimistic among them found the idea of a peaceful first contact to be a naive fantasy. The reports had spoken of a fiercely independent, highly territorial species, one with a history of internal conflict and a seemingly insatiable desire for expansion. Were these the attributes of a species that came in peace? The Krill rumbled, its voice a low growl. Hope is a luxury we cannot afford. We must be prepared for the worst. The fate of our civilizations could be hanging in the balance. The sentiment resonated with the majority of the council. Despite their differences, they were all bound together by a shared history, a shared struggle to survive and thrive in the vast emptiness of the cosmos. The survival of all they had known depended on their response. Xylos nodded slowly. A course of action is required. He turned toward the Orith delegation, beings whose very forms were a collection of sensors and computational nodes connected to the galactic network. Orith, prepare a full diagnostic. We need to ascertain the warship's capabilities, its weaponry, its defensive systems, every detail. We must know the enemy if that is indeed what they are. The Orith's response was immediate and efficient. The delegation, which consisted of pulsating spheres of light and data streams, began to transmit a flurry of information. Analysis commencing. Initial readings confirm anomalies. Energy signatures are fluctuating. The distortion field is expanding. The room's tension rose again, further solidifying the situation. "And what of diplomatic options?" the iridescent Ethel asked, her voice calm amidst the growing storm. "Should we attempt to open communications, offer an olive branch, so to speak?" Xylos shook his head slowly. "Premature. We know nothing of their language, their customs, or their motivations. A hasty attempt at communication could be misconstrued, leading to a catastrophic misunderstanding." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the chamber. "We have one advantage, their arrival. They have announced themselves. It allows us time." Time was precious. Time to prepare. Time to gather intelligence. Time to decide the fate of countless worlds. "What is the recommended course of action?" the Krill requested. "We wait." Xylos's voice was firm. "We monitor. We gather every piece of intelligence we can, and we hope against all reason that they seek peace. Let the humans announce their presence and we will watch. When the time is right, then we act. We will meet their presence with our own." The decision hung in the air, a chilling mandate that sent a wave of anxiety through the council. A long, silent eternity passed. The warship, an ominous silhouette against the backdrop of the periphery gate, continued its relentless approach. The Orith relayed a constant stream of data, painting a picture of an alien vessel that defied all known scientific principles. The distortion field intensified, interfering with sensor readings and making the ship's internal structure all but invisible. The council chamber pulsed with a frenetic energy as the weight of the galaxy's fate rested on the shoulders of these alien emissaries. The humans were closing in, and the galaxy braced itself, waiting. The days bled into weeks, weeks into months. The warship, a monolith of unknown purpose and impossible design, remained at the periphery of the known space, its silent presence a constant threat. The Orith continued their tireless work, piecing together fragments of data, attempting to discern the secrets of the approaching vessel. The diplomatic core of the council engaged in tense consultations, crafting contingency plans, preparing for every possible scenario. The military forces across the galaxy mobilized, their fleets of warships and armies of soldiers preparing for the inevitable conflict. The wait had begun. The initial reports came in swiftly, then once a month, then a week, finally daily. The distortion field was now a sphere surrounding the vessel, an impenetrable barrier against all forms of external observation. The Orith had detected faint emissions, rhythmic pulses of energy that appeared to be some form of communication, but they were unable to decipher the signals. The nature of these communications became the subject of intense debate. Were they threats, declarations of peace, or simply a method of data transmission? No one knew. The Krill, their patience wearing thin, argued for a more aggressive approach. They proposed sending a reconnaissance squadron, a small fleet of warships equipped with advanced stealth technology, to observe the human vessel at close range. The council was deeply divided. The idea was risky, but the risks of inaction were growing. "If we wait, we risk being caught off guard," the Krill delegate rumbled. "If they are hostile, they will have the advantage of surprise. We have to take action, and that means information." The Ethel delegation, in stark contrast, continued to advocate for caution, for patience. "We know so little about them," the lead Ethel delegate pleaded. "We do not know their technology, their strengths or weaknesses. Premature actions could trigger a catastrophic war." Xylos, with his centuries of experience, found himself caught between the two extremes. He understood the Krill's desire for decisive action, the need to prepare for any eventuality. But he also recognized the wisdom of the Ethel's caution. The future was unwritten, and any mistake could have consequences that would echo across the millennia. After a long, agonizing deliberation, Xylos made his decision. The Orith will continue their analysis. We will expand our network of observation posts, but we will not initiate any direct contact. He paused, his multifaceted eyes sweeping across the chamber, meeting each delegate's gaze. We will wait, we will watch, and we will pray for a peaceful resolution. It was a decision that was met with mixed reactions, but it was a decision that would define the course of history. The council adjourned, the weight of their responsibility pressing heavily upon them. The warship remained, its ominous presence a constant reminder of the unknown that lay just beyond their borders. The tension continued to build, a palpable force that threatened to shatter the fragile peace of the galaxy. Then, at long last, the first real communication came. It wasn't a warning nor a threat as they had feared. It was a single, simple message, transmitted through the periphery gate. A signal that all the sensor arrays of the galaxy picked up, deciphered, and broadcast in turn. Greetings, we are the United Earth Defense Force. We come in peace. The message reverberated through the council chamber like a thunderclap. The declaration, so simple and so direct, sent shockwaves through the council. Peace. After all the speculation, all the fear, all the preparations for war, the humans were offering peace. But was it genuine? It is a ruse, the Krill delegate roared, its voice shaking the chamber. A calculated deception. They seek to lull us into a false sense of security before unleashing their true power. The Ethel delegate, on the other hand, cautiously welcomed the message. Perhaps there is more to them than we had assumed. Perhaps they truly seek a peaceful dialogue. Xylos, ever the pragmatist, remained skeptical. He knew that the galaxy was a dangerous place, and that peace was a fragile commodity always at risk of being shattered. We will proceed with caution, he declared. The offer of peace does not negate the threat. We must proceed cautiously. The decision was made. The Council authorized the initiation of the first contact protocols. The Orith were tasked with establishing a secure communication channel, allowing them to exchange information with the humans. All military assets were placed on high alert, ready for any eventuality. The future was unknown. Months later, they would come to know the vessel by name, the ISS Intrepid. The initial contact was unsettling. The humans, it turned out, were not what they had expected. Their transmissions were calm, measured, and rational. They spoke of cooperation, of shared exploration, of the mutual benefits of understanding. Their culture, as revealed through the limited data that was allowed, was a strange blend of pragmatism and idealism, of ruthless efficiency and unwavering empathy. They offered technology, information, and a willingness to learn. But their warship remained, a silent reminder of the power they wielded, a symbol of the unknown that lay ahead. The first human emissaries arrived, not as conquerors, but as diplomats. They were welcomed aboard an orbiting space station, a neutral ground selected to facilitate communication. The delegation consisted of a diverse group of individuals, representing different nations and cultures from their planet. They were led by a woman named Commander Evelyn Reed, a figure of remarkable composure and intelligence. The council representatives were prepared for a power play. Instead, they found themselves facing calm, collected individuals who were eager to understand. Reed and her team approached the meeting with a quiet confidence that was unsettling in its own way, exhibiting a level of diplomacy that was entirely unexpected. The first face-to-face meeting was a study in contrasts. The council representatives, in their ornate robes and alien forms, were wary and guarded, while the humans, in their simple, functional uniforms, radiated an almost unnerving sense of ease. They sat in a circle, separated by a sterile, neutral space, the tension in the room thick enough to cut with a blade. Reed, with her direct gaze and steady voice, began the proceedings. "We are here to offer an alliance," she said. Her voice, though unfamiliar, was clear and precise. "We believe that our civilizations can benefit from cooperation. We are offering our technology, our knowledge, and our willingness to learn." The Krill delegate snorted, its voice dripping with cynicism. "What do you want in return? What is the price of this alliance?" Reed did not flinch. "We seek only mutual respect and understanding," she replied. "We believe that the universe is vast and that there is more to explore than we can possibly imagine. We would like to share in that exploration with you." The council representatives exchanged wary glances. The offer of an alliance was tempting, but the risk was undeniable. Who were these humans? What were their true intentions? The next phase involved extensive data sharing. The Orith, through the communication, exchanged astronomical data, scientific research, and technological blueprints. The humans, in turn, offered similar resources. What they learned was astonishing. The Intrepid was a marvel of engineering, a ship designed not for war, but for exploration. Its weapons systems were advanced, but it was the ship's other capabilities that truly impressed the Council members. The ship's shield technology was virtually impenetrable. It could move at speeds that were only theoretical for the Council species. Its propulsion system defied all known laws of physics. But the most remarkable capability was the ship's self-repair system. Damaged components, regardless of the extent of the damage, could be repaired with stunning speed and efficiency. The human technology was centuries, perhaps even millennia, ahead of anything the galaxy had known. And the humans themselves, they proved to be a constant surprise. They were incredibly adaptable, quick learners who absorbed information with an insatiable curiosity. They were ethical, adhering to a strict code of conduct that prioritized the preservation of life and the avoidance of unnecessary conflict. They were logical, approaching every problem with a methodical precision that was both fascinating and frustrating. And they were compassionate. They expressed concern for the well-being of the other species in the galaxy. They spoke of the importance of preserving the natural order of the universe. They were, in short, a species that was entirely different from anything the Council had ever encountered. "They are unexpected," the iridescent ethel representative had said during a private briefing. "They are not driven by greed or conquest, but by a genuine desire to understand and explore." The Krill delegation, after repeated meetings, was still skeptical. "They are too good to be true," they growled. "They must have some hidden agenda, some ulterior motive." The humans, for their part, seemed unfazed by the skepticism. They continued to offer assistance, sharing their knowledge and resources freely. They helped the Council nations to improve their own technology, showing them how to increase the efficiency of their energy systems, the effectiveness of their medical procedures, and the reliability of their defense systems. They even offered assistance in improving the living conditions on some of the more impoverished worlds within the Council. Slowly, gradually, the Council began to trust them. The initial fear gave way to curiosity. The suspicion morphed into respect. The humans, it turned out, were exactly what they seemed to be: a species of peace, a species of exploration, a species of genuine good intentions. But as the alliance grew, something even more profound began to emerge. The Council came to realize that the humans weren't just advanced in their technology, their knowledge, and their ethics. They were also masters of strategy. The humans, it turned out, were anticipating the future. They were planning ahead. They were playing a much longer game than anyone on the Council. This was seen in their approach to the alliance. The humans did not seek to dominate or control or exploit. They instead focused on mutual understanding. They wanted to build a lasting relationship built on trust, cooperation, and respect. It was a strategy that the Council members had never encountered before. One day, during a joint exploration mission to a previously uncharted star system, the Council representatives were given a demonstration of the human warship's capabilities. The Intrepid, accompanied by several Council vessels, entered a region of space that was known to be rich in exotic minerals. The area was also known to be a hotspot for space pirates, a loose confederation of raiders and scavengers who preyed on the weaker worlds. The humans had agreed to help the Council by eliminating the pirate threat. The Intrepid swiftly moved into position. The humans, in their calm and confident manner, began to direct the Council ships into defensive formations. Then, from the darkness of space, the pirates emerged. They were a motley collection of vessels of various shapes and sizes. They were armed, dangerous, and outnumbered the Council forces by a factor of 2. The battle was over before it began. The Intrepid unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that tore through the pirate fleet. The pirates, caught completely by surprise, were unable to mount any Sea-Tive defense. Their ships were destroyed in seconds. The battle, which was supposed to be a difficult and bloody struggle, was reduced to a display of precision and efficiency. The Intrepid was a technological marvel, and the humans were master strategists. After the battle, the Council representatives marveled at the speed and effectiveness of the human warship. The Krill, who had been the most skeptical of the humans, were particularly impressed. "They are formidable," they admitted in a rare display of humility. "They are more than just powerful, they are intelligent." The demonstration was a turning point. The Council began to see the humans not only as allies, but as a strategic asset. The humans, it seemed, were not just here to explore the galaxy, they were also here to protect it. But the humans were also keeping secrets. The Council had learned this as the Alliance grew. They were not telling everything. There were areas that remained out of bounds. The exact nature of their capabilities, the full extent of their knowledge, remained hidden. The humans were sharing information, but they were also carefully controlling it. And the Council, despite their growing trust, began to wonder what else they were hiding. Then came the discovery. A routine deep space scan conducted by the Orith revealed an anomaly. A faint, barely detectable energy signature emanating from a remote region of space, far beyond the boundaries of the known galaxy. The signature was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was ancient, millions of years old, and it was of human origin. The Council once again was thrown into a state of panic. The humans had been holding something back, a secret of unimaginable proportions. The truth would soon be revealed. The Council, in an emergency meeting, once again discussed the implications of this new discovery. The Krill, their initial suspicions now confirmed, demanded immediate action. They argued that the humans were manipulating them, that they had ulterior motives that they had yet to reveal. They were once again urging for preemptive action. The Ethel delegation, though shaken, once again urged caution. They argued that the humans' intent was still unknown and that rash actions could lead to catastrophic consequences. The situation was tense. The Council was divided. The fate of the Alliance and perhaps the galaxy hung in the balance. Xylos, with his centuries of experience and wisdom, once again took control of the situation. He recognized the gravity of the discovery, but he also recognized the importance of maintaining the Alliance. He also realized the humans would be aware that they knew. The humans had to be confronted, and they had to be confronted carefully. The Council requested a private meeting with Commander Reed. They met again aboard the station, the atmosphere heavy with the weight of the unspoken. Reed, as always, was calm and composed. She was briefed on the discovery. She was also given the opportunity to explain. Reed, with her usual clarity and directness, began her explanation. "The signal you detected," she said, "is from a structure built long ago, far beyond the reach of any known civilization, a structure built by us." The room was filled with stunned silence. The humans had built something in another galaxy. Why? When? "It is a research facility," she continued. "A place where we conducted experiments and made some discoveries that changed the course of our history. We left it there, abandoned, long ago." "Why?" the Krill delegate growled. "What kind of experiments, what discoveries?" Reed hesitated. "The experiments were designed to study the nature of reality. The discoveries, well, they were profound. They revealed a potential threat, a threat that could affect the entire universe." "What threat?" the Ethel delegate asked, its voice laced with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Reed paused again, her gaze sweeping across the chamber. "The threat is the absence of something." The Council representatives exchanged confused glances. The absence of something? What could that mean? "The structure," Reed continued, "was built to study the void, a region of space where all laws of physics are suspended, where anything is possible. It is also the place where all other beings come to pass, a vast, endless realm that we do not fully understand. We made a disturbing discovery there. The void can expand. It can consume everything, and it can be directed." "Directed?" Xylos questioned as he struggled to understand. "How is that possible? No one can control the void. If that's what this facility does, it is a danger to us all." Reed nodded. "The facility was designed to observe and to contain, not to control. The experiments were not successful, and the void, in the hands of the wrong entity, could be an existential threat." "Who is the entity?" the Krill barked. Reed shook her head. "We do not know. That is why we left the facility dormant." "Why?" "It remains hidden. We have never encountered this entity or its powers." The Council representatives were reeling. They had entered into an alliance with a species that had discovered a potential threat to the entire universe. A species that had built a facility to study that threat and failed. A species that was now guarding a terrible secret. "What must we do then?" Xylos finally asked, knowing the humans held the key. "What must we do now?" Reed considered the question, her expression unreadable. "We must find the entity. We must understand it. We must be prepared to defend ourselves and the universe." "How?" the Krill growled. "We have never faced any threats such as this. We are unprepared for such a war." Reed smiled, a rare and unexpected display of emotion. "We can prepare," she said. "We can prepare together. Our technology, combined with your experience, can make us a formidable force." And now, for the first time, she revealed the full extent of the human plan. It was not simply an alliance. It was a strategy. A plan to transform the galaxy into a united force, prepared for the day that the void, or whatever enemy controlled it, would emerge. And that strategy involved the creation of a new intergalactic alliance. An alliance unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans offered to share their knowledge, their technology, and their resources, and not just with the Council species, but with every species in the galaxy. They would oversee the construction of a network of interstellar communication relays, allowing for instant communication across vast distances. They would share their energy technology, their medical procedures, and their defense systems. They would establish training programs, teaching the other species how to use their technologies. They would share the benefits. The goal was to build a unified galaxy, a galaxy capable of defending itself against any threat. And they would do this not through conquest, but through collaboration. It was a bold plan, a radical plan, a plan that defied all expectations. The Council, after much debate, agreed. They had a choice to make. They could retreat, remain fearful, and hope for the best, or they could step up, face the unknown, and fight for a future. They chose to fight. They chose to unite. And so the alliance grew. Worlds, one by one, joined the United Galactic Defense Force. The humans, with their methodical precision and their unwavering commitment to the greater good, became the architects of a new galactic order. They were the ones who spearheaded the development of the new technology, the ones who trained the new armies, the ones who led the new exploration efforts. The galaxy was transformed. The old ways of conflict and division were replaced by cooperation and understanding. The human plan worked. The alliance was a success. But as it turned out, the story didn't end there. As the human plan unfolded, as the new interstellar infrastructure was completed, as the new fleets were being launched, the new Galactic Federation received a signal. A signal unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was transmitted from the facility, the one built in another galaxy. It was a message, and it was a warning. The message was not in any language they knew, but through the use of advanced translation tools, the human scientists were eventually able to translate it. The message was simple, yet terrifying. "The void is coming." The message was followed by a series of coordinates. The coordinates of an unknown region of space, far beyond the reach of any known civilization. The coordinates of a place where the human scientists believed the threat originated. The coordinates of the enemy. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Council. The warning was clear. The void was not merely a theoretical threat. It was a very real, very present danger. The enemy was closing in, and the galaxy was about to face the ultimate test. Then at last came the biggest revelation of all. Not a moment, but a moment from the deep past, a memory of the beginning. Commander Reed, in a private meeting with Xylos and the leading representatives of the Council, shared something that would change their perspective forever. "We have been guarding more than just a secret," she said. "We have been holding back the truth." She turned on a holographic display showing the faces of countless beings. They were of all shapes and sizes, all colors and forms. They were the original members of the Alliance, the ones who had first faced the void. "We are not the first," she continued. "We are the last." On the display, the holographic images began to fade, disappearing one by one. And at the end, only one remained, a human face. It was her face. "Before us, countless civilizations have faced the void. They were all consumed. They were all defeated. We are the last ones, the last defense." The revelation was met with stunned silence. The humans were not just a species, they were a continuation. They were not just an alliance, they were a legacy. They were the last stand against a cosmic horror. The weight of their past rested on them, and the fate of the universe depended on their future. "Why us?" the Krill delegate asked, its voice laced with a mixture of awe and terror. "Why do you carry such a burden?" Reed sighed. "We do not know. It is a burden we have chosen to bear. We made a promise to protect the galaxy, and we intend to keep it." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room. "We will face the void together, or we will die together, but we will not surrender." In the end, that was what made humanity so fascinating. They were not only powerful and intelligent, they were dedicated to their cause. The fate of the universe rested on them, and they were willing to give everything to see that it survived. The stage was set. The alliance was ready. The enemy was coming. The humans' warship, the Intrepid, led the fleet. And as the council, the military, the scientists, and the diplomats took their stations, the galaxy braced itself for the final battle, the battle for the universe. The humans, though they faced oblivion, smiled. And in that moment, a chilling message echoed across the void. Brace yourself, a human warship is incoming.